what we were looking at did resemble some type of...
This is Moses Carey, Chairman of the North Carolina Employment Security Commission. The ESC has recently updated the look of our agency's website. Our site allows users around the world to search for job openings, retrieve labor market data, file for unemployment insurance, and more.
We are back on the Real News Radio, and we're going to go ahead and continue with our interview with Dr. Chuck Baldwin. Okay, we will be back with our interview with Dr. Chuck Baldwin here in just a moment. We were able to discuss with him some other topics besides the War Powers Act. And again, for everyone out there that maybe you have a hard time believing the War Powers Act or the issue that we're bringing up, I urge you to investigate it for yourself. That's what this broadcast is about, is to bring up information. You can believe whatever you want to. I am waiting for someone to show me where this has been dispensed of, but we will go to the phones hopefully in the second hour, and we're going to go ahead and continue with our interview with Dr. Chuck Baldwin.
That B, he would broach it with a total stranger. He didn't know what my reaction would be. And C, that the configuration was plainly there, I thought was quite amazing.
Sir, I grew up in a Christian home. My father's a retired Baptist minister, and you had wrote an article today, Has the Church Become Irrelevant? And that's something we have done here on the Real News Radio, is challenged our local churches to get involved because of the situation we're at in this country, and we've had several Tea Party protests, and we can't seem to get the local churches at all motivated to get involved, no matter what the cause, whether it's against homosexuality or this march towards socialism. Why has our churches here in America become so desolate and has turned their back on really getting involved in the movement for truth and for justice and for preserving the American way?
Well, I tell you what, if you could come up with the answer to that question, I would love to know the answer, because that is a question that plagues us all across the nation. I don't know whether it is old-fashioned laziness. They just don't want to be bothered. I don't know whether it's fear of facing whatever consequences may come, maybe the fear of losing members in the church because of controversy, maybe the fear of losing financial contribution, maybe the fear of peer pressure, maybe the fear of government, reaction. I don't know if it's that or if it's just that they have truly been indoctrinated in a philosophy that is foreign to not only Scripture but to American history. Whatever the cause, the result is, as I expressed in my column today, by and large, the church is completely irrelevant to the preservation of liberty and the essential principles on which our country is built. We have taken ourselves out of play in this country. It was the churches in colonial America that literally gave birth to this country. It was the church in the 1800s and early 1900s that brought great awakenings, that brought moral and spiritual revivals to our land, that really gave us direction culturally, spiritually, in those great decades. And now the church is just totally inept. It's impotent and irrelevant. And until the pastors begin to make their churches relevant again and reawaken this sleeping giant that's out there, I don't know that we're going to be able to turn this around.
I agree with you, and I think you make some excellent points in the commentaries that you write. And our time's up for the day. I really do appreciate you joining us, and I'd like to give you the last word, any contact information that you'd like to give our listeners so that they can read what you write each week and stay in touch with you, Dr. Baldwin.
Thank you, Pat. Yeah, the easiest way to contact me is to go to my website, which is www.chuckbaldwinlive. It's all one word, chuckbaldwinlive.com. That's www.chuckbaldwinlive.com.
Well, thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure having you on the Real News Radio today.
Thank you very much.
All right, that was Dr. Chuck Baldwin, our interview with him. We were able to discuss a little bit about the War Powers Act. He didn't go so far as to say we were still under emergency rule since 1933, but he does agree that there is a problem. And then, of course, his insight on the swine flu and concentration camps here in America, which some of his articles he's wrote on Dat Bryan have been excellent. He's really going out of the norm for your average even politician or pastor to get into these realms of thinking.
In the excellent article he wrote on the Second Amendment, where he draws a line there.
I agree 100%. Well, to finish out this hour, we are going to cover some economic news, and then starting in next hour, we're going to go into 9/11, some of what's going on there, bringing you up to date, also some of the events that transpired on 9/11/2001. We're going to play some clips, and then we're going to, hopefully, about the bottom of next hour, go to the phones, because I know this is a hot-button issue, and although a lot of us agree on politics and we need change and the socialism march our government's taking us into, so we do have some disagreements on our versions of events of 9/11, but that's what this is a forum for you, the listener, so we can discuss this type of information. And so we're going to go into 9/11 at the top of the hour. So go ahead, Brian, let's start with some economic news as we finish up this segment.
This week, the dollar hits low and gold topped 1,000. Actually, yesterday closing at 1,007 on the New York Mercantile Exchange. This is AP. The dollar fell to a low for the year Tuesday as gold prices shot past 1,000 an ounce and investors switched funds into riskier investments. Commitments from global leaders this weekend to continue underwriting the global recovery helped drive investors away from the safe haven dollar and into emerging market currencies and equities, analysts said. And of course, gold closing yesterday at 1,007 on the New York Mercantile Exchange. A report from the United Nations agency released on Monday also called for a reduced role for the dollar as the world's primary reserve currency. Investors could also have been weighing a report from the UN Conference on Trade and Development released Monday, which called an international monetary system that relied on a national currency as a reserve asset a, quote, weakness. All this out of the UN this week on the dollar, and of course this certainly didn't help its value any.
We know we've documented here time and time again China's call for a new reserve currency, Russia's call for a new reserve currency. Just this past week, or we reported it one night this week, Forbes reports the dollar has collapsed. That was September 8, 2009, reporting for Forbes, the U.S. dollar reached its lowest point against the euro this year. So, I mean, it's just a litany of different information. The dollar's days has to be numbered if the Treasury continues to print them at breakneck speed out of thin air, and that's what they are doing.
Interesting thing I heard on NPR driving here this morning, Fan. 3 banks failed last night. They were added to the total for the year, which now I believe is 92. It was 88, before last night, but now it's 92.
And it would strike me as odd as the Federal Reserve has looted the Treasury and has access to these trillions. The banks that fail or the banks they want to fail, that they want to gobble up in the consolidation of financial powers, it is all by design. The banks they don't want to fail, Bear Stearns was okay to fail. Goldman Sachs is not okay to fail. And when you live in a society where some entities are too big to fail, you have left capitalism, period.